Hey guys, day 5 of Inktober. So I'm doing pretty good. I'm feeling confident. These 30 days should be going by pretty quick. So let's go through these pieces and I'll tell you a little bit about my thought and my process. I did a lot of experimenting, so we'll see. Enjoy.
Hogge Arts.
Okay, day 2. For this one, it was just me freehanding a zombie on a phone because when I think of the word mindless, I think of people on their phones all the time, even myself. I'm trying to talk to someone and they're on their phones and they're just scrolling and they're like, "What? Can you repeat that? Huh?" And I'm guilty, but not as guilty as some other people. All right, so zombies, naturally, it's Halloween, so I don't know. There was a lot of just playing with this one, and I wasn't happy with the way it turned out, I guess. But really, the process was just very cartoonish. I filled in a lot of space with color, I did thicker outlining. It's very playful and just gets my concept across. So it's just this character of the zombie, and I did give it a little tattoo there that last minute just to be cute, but he has his striped shirt on. Um, and that aura in the background, which I'm going to get to. Uh, I try to use the alcohol ink I got from my palettefull pack. Sorry guys, my palettefull pack box this month. But I've decided that the alcohol ink they gave me should only go on gloss paper because it just instantly absorbs into any other paper. It makes it impossible. So I laid down my marker right here and I was thinking, oh, I'll just messily scrabble that with water and then I'll go in with the alcohol ink and make it look pretty, and look, it's just splotching. So I had to literally splotch it to fill that whole area, and I was like, I could have just used alcohol markers for this process. But then I was like, you know what? I'm gonna use that rainbow ink, see if it changes the color, like it said, and I think that's only with gloss paper. So that glitter just kind of stayed in some places. I tried to spread it around some. I just wasn't really happy with the way a lot of things turned out on this piece, but it still got my concept across, and it's fun, it's playful, and I really enjoyed it. This one was pretty easy for me to decide what I was going to do. If you watch any of my art on social media at all, I do a lot of fishing, a lot of lures, pretty much any chance I can get. So I decided I wanted something colorful, something in my palette, which is fall colors. And since it's fall, I wanted to do a lure that was very fall-esque, I guess. So I decided to do this custom fly, and the process on this, for the most part, I laid most of my heavy lines right away, and then I went in with my color because I love color, with my markers, and that peacock feather at to the right that I'm filling in right there has a lot of different blues and greens in it, and even some reds. And I'm using the same technique that I have been using, which is the water uh, added to those non-alcoholic markers, and it really just makes them bleed together and have just this really cool look by the time it's done. And then I lay my basic colors down, just to get ready for different hues and things, because I don't want to get those feathers, because if you've ever seen the feathers they use for fly lures, they are very dyed and they don't have much contrast to them. Right here, I put a whole bunch of marker ink down and I'm watering it down because the feather on the background is a light yellow. And I just wanted to dilute the color, that way it has more of a translucence to it as opposed to the other feathers that are very stark. So if you do want to use that technique, it's good for lighter, paler effects, and sometimes you just don't have the marker. In that case, I really just had a lot of darker markers, especially in yellow. So just put a big scribble down and water it down. Remember non-alcoholic markers because they interact with water. Alcoholic markers do not. Once you put those down, they're down. So right here, I just wanted to add a geometric shape, and as you saw, I traced a bowl, which might be childlike, but if you don't have a tool to make a circle, use what you have. All right. So I wanted geometric shape to interfere with this, just to give it more of a design perspective. And I'm adding a dark blue after I made my scribbles in that circle. And you'll see why I did that. I put a light blue, I watered it down, and I'm going to mess up that shape with water to really make this have an organic water-like texture. Whew, and day 4, man, I really enjoyed this piece. What I decided to do was kind of a double meaning of freeze. I decided like frozen, like you're frozen in place with ice, and then freeze, like freeze, I got a gun, don't move. So I combined those two concepts, and I have this guy, and he's shooting his gun, but he is also frozen in place with all these ice crystals. And some reason I just have been into these crystal ideas. Day 1 I did the amethyst on the hand for ring. This one I did huge ice crystals and a very dark background. And the process took me a while longer because there was a lot of layering with the wet technique that I've showed you, but there was also a lot of line work on different parts of the body for shadow to kind of push and pull on contrast. So to start this out, I just laid most of my shading lines just as a guide to help me with color. And I'm going to start on these crystals because they're going to be really wet. And several times you'll see the transition where I had to stop the camera, let these dry, and then come back and film some more. And honestly, that's what took me so long on this piece, which is fine. And the colors you see me laying down right now, they seem very dark, but I go darker. All right, these are just the initial blues that I decided to go with to kind of bring out the texture of the ice, because once that ink dries, it's going to do its own thing, and I'm going to have to kind of work with that and remember where my lines are, because later I'm going to use a tool that I've never used, which is jelly rolls, and I guess they're very popular, so I looked them up at Hobby Lobby, and not only did I find jelly rolls, but I found markers on sale, some alcohol markers. They were having a Master's Touch sale. Everything was 50% off by Master's Touch, so I have a set of like 24 markers for $15 that were originally $30, while Copic, everyone knows them, you can get like 12 for $58. So I saved a lot of money on those markers and something else to play with. And they are alcoholic markers, so it's definitely places where I would want to not move the ink. So I did get a little more, a few more toys to play with this Inktober, which is always good. And I don't know if it's a no-no to some of you, but I did use a white colored pencil to give the texture to the ice in the very end of this video, which I think is fine as long as it's not majority of the ink drawing. And honestly, the point of this challenge, if you're doing this, isn't just to do an ink drawing a day, but learn combined medias if you must. Some people are just doing digital art. Some people aren't even doing ink at all. And really, it's just to motivate you. And hopefully it does, because you grow every time you do an art piece, I think, and you learn and you know what you want to do and what you don't want to do. Like on day 2, I knew a lot of what I don't want to do, and that's cartoon zombies and alcohol ink on absorbent paper. So it's all a learning process. I don't know if you've noticed, but I have been pulling the blues out of the crystals with a brush and water and bringing them to the ice coming down, because I don't want it to be darker. And I'm also doing that technique to put it throughout his body because I want him to look frozen. So I pulled the blues out of the crystals to help spread that out without using a dark marker to where it looks so stark. And as you see, it gave him a very frozen, cold look. And if you have noticed, I do put my darker lines later. And the reason that I do that is because I use a lot of water. And I don't want the lines to fade. And the only reason I put the thinner lines is so I have some kind of guide through this piece. And sometimes I like the faded lines. Like in the hand, I kept a lot of the faded lines just to add to the fact that he's frozen. And there is going to be some opaqueness to what you see between the ice and between the body. I am doing a pretty much black background, so I am lining in everything and leaving a space to create more aspects of ice. So the white around him that I'm leaving is going to stay there. And that's just to give more of that frozen look. But I will come in after this and I will basically drown the background with India ink, but leaving some opaqueness to where I will later add some blue to that and cool it down. But yeah. So this is my first time to use jelly rolls ever, and I am pleased. They give a very thin, stark white line to several things, and I mostly just used it on the ice to give it more of that ice-like texture. And right here I'm using a Prismacolor to really bring out kind of that texture of ice, which isn't as sleek as you would think it would be. And yeah, it really just brought everything together. All right, unfortunately, this one only filmed halfway through. Some reason my camera stopped. But the concept of build, I didn't know what to do, so I posted on my social media, different platforms. I asked, what does the word build mean to you in reference to Inktober? And a lot of people said, why don't you just do your chicken coop you just built? Because I just built a chicken coop right before Inktober started. And I was like, yeah, I was thinking about that. But I wanted to go deeper than that. So after a few replies, I got a message from Alex. I'm just going to keep it at first name basis. She said, what about someone building themselves up? I was like, that's a great idea. And then she messaged shortly after and said, I was going to say build others up, but I'm trying to be more self positive, which I thought that's a great additive too. So, this concept that I'm doing is to build someone up. Whether it's me, whether it's you, I think it's a very positive message. And I really enjoyed this. And I wish I got the rest of this on video, but I'll just show you the finished product after this. A lot of color, a lot of lines, very playful. So there it is. I think I did pretty good on the concept I was trying to portray. Very, very illustrated. So tell me what you guys think of the pieces that I came up with these 5 days. If you didn't get to see the first piece I did, it's on the previous video where I opened the palette full pack box. Alright guys, so my next video I'm going to go over a commission and work on that while I explain to you how I go about doing these challenges and making time for commissions. So be sure to subscribe, comment, and be ready.